This slide deals with type 1 and type 2 error. Take a moment and see if you can get this to make some sense. What it's saying is if you decide that the null should be rejected and the null is false, then you've made a correct decision. Likewise, if the null should not be rejected and the null turns out in reality to be true, again, correct decision. This video is about the errors that you could make. For instance, if you say that the null should be rejected, meaning HA is true, but in reality, the null is true, you've made a type 1 error. If you choose HA, you're saying HO is rejected, so you're choosing HA, also known as H1. If you choose H1 to be the true statement, but HO is true, you've made a type 1 error. If you've chosen not to reject the null, but it turns out in reality that the null is false, you've chosen HO, but it's false, that's a type 2 error. One commonly used example is criminal justice. In this country, people are considered to be innocent until something changes and they are proven guilty. The premise of our criminal justice system. So if a juror decides that the defendant is guilty, and he is, correct decision. If they decide that the defendant is innocent, and he is, correct decision. But it's the errors that we're thinking of. If the juror makes a type 1 error, then it would be a situation where they say the defendant is guilty, but he's actually innocent. This has an implication. The innocent man goes to jail. If a type 2 error is made, that means we are choosing HO as the true statement, that the defendant is innocent. But if it's an error, we're saying he's innocent, but in reality, he's guilty. And again, there's an implication. Here, the guilty man goes free and will probably re-offend. An example where things are a little more obvious that you've made a mistake is pregnancy. Most people are considered to be not pregnant. If something changes from the null, then the person is now pregnant. Once again, if the test says she's not pregnant and she's not pregnant, correct decision. If the test says something has changed, she is pregnant and she's pregnant, correct decision. But what about the errors? If a type 1 error is made, the test will say she's pregnant, but she's not. What's the implication? Panic? Joy? Both unfounded. In the case where a type 2 error is made, HO is chosen to be the true statement, that she's not pregnant. The test says she's not pregnant, but she is. Implications here: she might continue with drug or alcohol use. Here's our last example: death. Most people are considered to be alive. If something changes, they're now considered dead. If someone makes a type 1 error, they're saying the person is dead, but they're actually alive. Very creepy for the implications. You're buried alive. If there is a type 2 error, HO is chosen to be the true statement. The person is said to be alive, but they're actually dead. And this would be a favorite show, The Walking Dead and the Zombie Apocalypse. Remember our p-value rules. If p is less than alpha, reject. If p is greater than alpha, fail to reject. Putting that together with today's rules about type 1 and type 2 error, if p is less than alpha and we reject the null, if we did it falsely, we've made a type 1 error. So that helps us add to our definition and understanding of p-value. It's the percentage of the curve from the calculated value to the tail. It's also the probability that we might make a type 1 error.